Hi, good evening. Welcome along to the Transfer Show. It's the Transfer Show. Kaveh Solokol, Dharmesh Shetha here. They're going to bring you the definitive breakdown of the day's transfer news, and that includes fresh developments at Manchester United. Now, also on the way, will trouble at the top at Tottenham impact their transfer plans, and even Harry Kane's future? We'll hear from a very candid Maurizio Pochettino, who speaks openly about Chelsea's search for midfield reinforcements. And we sit down with Declan Rice, who tells us why he's already seeing football differently since joining Arsenal and playing under Mikel Arteta. Absolutely loads to get through this half an hour. Let's start with Manchester United then. Dharmesh, searching for a midfielder. Any news?
I think that is an area that they do want to strengthen in, but it's likely that there might have to be departures in that area to recoup some money, because the priority positions that they're looking at, they filled the Mason Mount position, they filled the goalkeeping position, they're going for a striker as well. So I think if Manchester United are to go into the market to bring in another midfielder, maybe one of, for example, Fred or Donny van der Beek, maybe even Scott McTominay, would have to depart the club for good money. What we do know is that Manchester United have held early talks, is how it's been described to me, with Fiorentina over their midfielder, Sofian Amrabat. It's unlikely they'll push really hard for that signing just now, as I mentioned before, unless there's a departure in that area. He's a Morocco international, impressed really highly, didn't he, in the World Cup in Qatar. And it's thought he would be keen on a move to Old Trafford. So I think United on that side of it are quite encouraged that he would welcome a move to Manchester United. And as with a lot of other signings, Erik ten Hag knows a lot of the players that he's brought in to Manchester United. This is another one, because he actually played under Erik ten Hag when ten Hag was manager at Utrecht. You slipped in the word striker amongst all that. So what's the latest on that? Yeah, I mean, the primary target still seems to be the Atalanta striker, Rasmus Højlund. Now, I'm told that United will not be swayed or influenced by other clubs' interest in the player. There's been talk of Paris Saint-Germain being interested in Højlund as well. Is that maybe a way of trying to get Manchester United to raise their price by using the name in the media for Paris Saint-Germain being interested? I'm sure that there is an interest from Paris Saint-Germain, but United aren't looking at anyone else apart from themselves. They're thought to be quite relaxed. They're thought to be quite comfortable with the way they've approached this deal and are comfortable with what they would be offering. However, they are not going to overpay. And that's been the theme of this transfer window with regard to Manchester United and all of their transfer dealings. We think Atalanta would want in the region, if not more, of around 70 million euros. Early talks between the two clubs, they have been positive, but they reveal a gap in valuation. We think Manchester United probably around 10 or 15 million euros short of what Atalanta would want. But given that, there could be a compromise that can happen between the two clubs. However, United will not be waiting around. If they feel we've got to walk away from this deal because we don't think it's going to happen, they have got other options. But I think Erik ten Hag, he's been asked the question a number of times during this tour of the United States about incomings and outgoings, and he was asked about the progress of a striker.
Dharmesh, I want to talk more Man United later on in the programme, but I want to talk Tottenham Hotspur now, Kaveh, because it wasn't just Spurs fans who had a sharp intake of breath this morning. Just update us on what's gone on at the top of Spurs.
Well, until late last year, Joe Lewis was the owner of Tottenham. At the moment, Tottenham are owned by Joe Lewis's family trust. Now, this afternoon, Joe Lewis has surrendered himself to US authorities in Manhattan, and he will be appearing in court later today to face charges of insider trading. The indictment says that Lewis and his associates made millions of dollars using stolen information. He's facing 16 counts of security fraud and 3 counts of conspiracy. And some of these counts, the maximum punishment, if you're found guilty of them, is a prison sentence of 25 years.
Well, what is he, 85, 86?
He's 86 years old. He's a remarkable man. He started off, I think his family lived above a pub in the East End of London. He worked for his family catering company. He built that up, sold that in 1979 for a fortune, moved to the Bahamas, where he's been living ever since. And he's made several more fortunes since then, especially through currency trading. And according to Forbes, he is worth about £4.6 billion. But this afternoon, he'll be appearing in court in Manhattan.
Right, OK, so what does all of that mean for Tottenham Hotspur?
I think as far as the day-to-day running of Tottenham is concerned, it doesn't really affect Tottenham. Because he's not involved in the day-to-day running of Tottenham. Tottenham is run by Daniel Levy. He doesn't live in the UK. Very occasionally, he has gone to Spurs games. And as far as the Premier League are concerned, he is no longer the owner of Tottenham. Tottenham are owned by his family trust.
He's the head of the family, is he not?
He is the patriarch of the family, yes he is, but we're being told that he is not a beneficiary of that trust. And as far as the Premier League are concerned, there's no issue with the owners and directors test, because usually the owners and directors test is designed to prevent anybody who has been convicted of a criminal offence from owning or being a director of a Premier League club. And in this instance, I think the Premier League would say that he is not the owner of Tottenham. What quite a few people have picked up on, of course, is up until today, there appeared to be no issue with describing Joe Lewis as the owner of Tottenham. It's only since today and what has transpired in Manhattan that media organisations are being sort of advised to stick to semantics and describe him maybe as the former owner of Tottenham, or make it clear that he was the owner until late last year, when it was registered at Companies House that he didn't have significant control over the running of the club.
So when it was reported this week that he'd come out and said to Daniel Levy, if Harry Kane doesn't sign a contract extension, get rid of him, should we have all just ignored that?
I think that was reported by a lot of very good reporters who are following Manchester United on tour in the US. That didn't come out of Tottenham. Tottenham, I imagine, would not have confirmed or denied that at all. As far as Tottenham are concerned, this is a personal matter for Mr. Lewis. Yes, of course, he has some connections to Tottenham. Some very, very strong connections would be my personal opinion. And his family trust obviously have a majority ownership of Tottenham. But Spurs would tell you that this is a personal matter for Mr. Lewis, and it's got nothing to do with the running of Tottenham Hotspur Football Club.
Carve, come back at 6. We'll delve really deep into that at 6 o'clock. Thank you. All right, I want to get back to you, Dharmesh. Chelsea. We opened the show and we said that Maurizio Pochettino had been really candid today. So what's he said?
Well, look, it's obvious that they are after midfielders. They've released so many players, but midfielders in particular, during this transfer window. They're now deciding on their next step with regard to the Brighton midfielder, Moises Caicedo. Yes, it's that man again. We're told they are comfortable with their approach so far and with their valuation of the player. Remember, they bid £70 million, which they thought was a reasonably good deal. Brighton's completely rejected that out of hand. They are valuing Moises Caicedo in the same bracket that West Ham United value Declan Rice. So we're looking at around £100 million.
What about the player? Does he want to move?
Well, this is it. I think Chelsea are getting encouragement that Moises Caicedo does want to go to Stamford Bridge. He does want to make that move. We go back to January. Chelsea were interested and he made it clear he wanted to go to Arsenal. Yeah. Released it on a social media post after Brighton had rejected 2 bids from Arsenal during that window. But look, Chelsea will remain patient with this one. We're still relatively early during this transfer window. Ideally, they want all of their business done before the season starts. But look, it's until September the 1st, so they've still got a bit of time to do their deals. And they will continue to be disciplined, I'm told, with any kind of potential deals. However, they have got other options if the Caicedo deal doesn't work out. Now, it's not obviously in the same position, but Mohamed Kudus, who has been, we've been talking about him in the last couple of transfer windows. Chelsea retain an interest in him as the Ajax attacking midfielder. No official bid yet, but initial talks have taken place between both clubs. He's actually entered the final 2 years of his contract at Ajax. Now, when you get to that stage, and if you're not signing a new contract, which we haven't had information that he is going to sign a new contract at Ajax, then Ajax are probably looking at this summer's transfer window as being the optimum time to get the best transfer fee for Mohamed Kudus. But look, you mentioned Mauricio Pochettino there. I can tell you lots and lots of the information I've got, but he's been asked constantly about comings and goings at Chelsea, because we knew as soon as he came in that squad needed streamlining. They've managed to do that, and now the questions are beginning to develop. Who's coming in to your squad and who's coming in to your team? Midfield is obviously a big area, and this is what Pochettino had to say about it.
Well, depend of the situation of different player. I think at least we need one more, and we are working on that. But I see it depend of what is happening in the next few weeks. We will decide and we will take a decision. Connor is in our plan. I was talking with him the first day that he arrived. That is in our plan. And then in football, things can happen. We cannot manage. But, at the moment, I think I am happy with him, with his performance. Still 2-year contract. And nothing to say.
Yeah, interesting what he was saying there about Conor Gallagher. He's got 2 years in his contract. Got nothing to say. He's part of my plans. I've spoken to him. But in football, anything can happen. And this is against the backdrop of West Ham United's strong interest in the player. They've already had one bid rejected of around £40 million for Conor Gallagher. And we're told that they're discussing behind the scenes now at West Ham United whether to go back in with an improved offer for him.
I love that. In football, anything can happen. Could Kylian Mbappe play for Chelsea?
It's a situation very delicate, and it's a situation that they need to fix in Paris with Kylian with Paris Saint-Germain. And yes, but from our side, nothing to say. I think we are working on our reality. Our reality is different, and of course, they for sure they have another reality. And from my side, nothing to say. Only to support them. Hope that find the best solution for both sides.
Right. That's from his side. What's from your side? What's going on with Mbappe?
Look, I think there have been lots of reports today in Paris that a Saudi delegation has arrived in town from Al Hilal to try and convince Kylian Mbappe to move to Saudi Arabia. And obviously they bring with them the promise of riches beyond anyone's imagination. I think the problem is, the first one is no indication that Kylian Mbappe is interested at all in moving to Saudi Arabia. The second problem is I'm not 100% sure whether there is a delegation from Saudi Arabia in Paris to meet him. There have been lots of reports. We are getting conflicting reports about whether there is a delegation there. PSG insiders are telling me we don't care. It's got nothing to do with us. We've communicated with Al Hilal, 300 million euros. That's fine with us. It's up to the player now to go and speak to Al Hilal if he wants to. We've got no control over that situation. And as far as the Saudis are concerned, we've made some inquiries and we're being told, there's nothing strange about people from Saudi Arabia being in Paris in the summer. They may well be shopping, but
Paris is very nice.
Yes, they might be shopping for handbags for their wives rather than for Kylian Mbappe. But there are reports that we haven't been able to stand up that there is a delegation from Al Hilal there to convince him. And I don't really think, it's not a case of having to sit down with Kylian Mbappe and convince him to move to Saudi Arabia, because all it is he doesn't want to go there. So you're just going to have to put more and more and more and more and more cash on the table to convince him to go there for at least one season.
So it's a dogfight or just handbags for Kylian Mbappe. I want to talk Manchester City. Kyle Walker Played against Bayern Munich today for City in a pre-season friendly. Obviously linked with Bayern Munich. Captained Manchester City. What should we read into that?
I think it's very significant. I think it's a statement from Pep Guardiola to the player and also to Bayern Munich to say, Kyle Walker is an absolute key player for me. There's no way I want to lose him. His experience, his speed, the fact that he can play in a variety of roles across the back. So I think it was very significant that not only he started, but also that he was the captain.
Yeah, indeed.
Especially against Bayern Munich.
Massively. We'll keep an eye on that. I want to talk very briefly Tottenham Hotspur again, but this time Harry Kane. Any movement?
Not really. I mean, as far as Spurs are concerned, player's not for sale. We were told yesterday that Bayern Munich were going to respect Spurs. But yet again, we've had a situation where somebody from Bayern Munich has been speaking about Harry Kane. This time round, it's the president, Herbert Heiner, who's basically been saying to the German magazine Kicker, Harry Kane, not only would he be a great addition to Bayern Munich, he would actually be a great addition to German football and the Bundesliga as well. He's also actually been talking about Sadio Mane, and he's confirmed that Bayern Munich are in talks about selling Sadio Mane to Al Nassr, of course, the club in Saudi Arabia that Cristiano Ronaldo plays for. He confirmed that they were in initial talks. But as far as Kane is concerned, we keep hearing that Bayern Munich are going to respect Spurs and not talk about Kane, but then we keep hearing people from Bayern Munich speaking about him.
Do you know what? We'll take a break. And Carver, I know you've got to go. I'll see you at 6, though. Thank you very much. Coming up next, though, we'll hear from Arsenal's record signing Declan Rice, and we'll bring you the very latest on Liverpool's pursuit of a new midfielder. That and more to come. See you in a moment. again. Now, Declan Rice's £105 million move from West Ham to Arsenal is the biggest deal of the summer so far. And Arsenal's new midfielder has been speaking to our senior reporter Melissa Reddy about the move and his expectations for the season.
It's crazy. It's honestly crazy. I'm already seeing football in a complete different way. You think you know football like growing up and when you play, but when you meet managers like Mikel, you realise you don't really know anything about football. There's different styles and different ways of playing that I've never experienced before. The mindset and mentality is just about winning. From the physios to the chefs to the analysts, everyone behind the scenes, it's all on that focus of being the best you can be, pushing yourself every day to become a better person, a better player. And I think Mikel, that's exactly how he is. As well as a football coach, psychologically he's amazing. Arsenal under Mikel have won Community Shields, FA Cups, but I think now, at this club, it's a massive club. It's constant pressure of delivering titles, and it's been such a long time now since Arsenal won a Premier League. Last year was so close. I feel like we're better off now this year of learning from that experience. So I think that's definitely a target. And of course, you're in the Champions League. You go in the Champions League to win. You don't go into just to take part. Just hoping it's a successful season, but time will tell.
So one of 3 deals that Arsenal did early in the window, Dharmesh. Obviously, there are going to be a lot of talk about outgoings, but are they done with bringing people in?
Never say never, but you mentioned the outgoings. After spending, in the region of £200 million, the focus is always going to be on departures. I think that the biggest saleable asset probably, you'd have to say, is Folarin Balogun. I think they want to try and get £50 million or near enough £50 million for him if they can. There are a couple of clubs who are interested. Whether they can do a deal of that magnitude is another question, because they are in Europe. The likes of Inter Milan and Monaco are both interested. As far as incomings go, I think, as I mentioned with United, with Sofian Amrabat, and if they want to bring someone like that in, there'd have to be departures and a recoupment of money. I think that's what will be the case with Arsenal. Central midfield is an area, up until about a week or so ago, that I was being told, look, just keep an eye on. But that was because there was so much interest in Thomas Partey. And he's only got 2 years left on his contract and he's 30 years old. I just wonder what Arsenal's thinking is, especially in that game against Manchester United in pre-season. The midfield 3 were Kai Havertz, Odegaard and Declan Rice. Even though Mikel Arteta was at pains to say Thomas Partey will get game time and he can play alongside Declan Rice. Another position possibly we need to look at is the right-sided forward area. And I've mentioned this many times to you on this show before, only because in the last 2 or 3 transfer windows, it's been an area that Arsenal have wanted to strengthen in, and they haven't really managed to do that. Bukayo Saka, of course, incredible footballer, but behind that, if he gets an injury, then Arsenal are thinking maybe moving a player that's not really familiar to that position into that position. So maybe if they can recoup enough money, they might go back into the market for one of those 2 positions, if not both. OK, all right, let's talk Liverpool. Bid in for Lavia yesterday, rejected. Are they going to go in again? I would expect them to, yes. We expect Liverpool to go back in with an improved offer for Romeo Lavia from Southampton. The bid that was rejected earlier on this week, we think, is worth around £40 million. That wouldn't have been the guaranteed payment. We're looking at around £35 million guaranteed payment plus performance-related add-ons. We think Southampton value the player at around £50 million. Interestingly, Chelsea remain keen on Romeo Lavia as well. They've not actually made an official bid, but we're told that personal terms with Liverpool and Chelsea are not expected to be a problem. So maybe both clubs are maybe getting a little bit of encouragement that this deal is still open. So let's not rule Chelsea out of it just yet. Lavia played 45 minutes for Southampton against Bournemouth in their pre-season friendly at St Mary's last night. He's got a contract until 2027. I think that's going in Southampton's favour. But when people were saying they're in the Championship now, how can they still charge as much as if they were in the Premier League? They're more than happy to say £50 million, and that's how much he's worth. Now, we promised people news of Manchester United, Dharmesh. They're going to have to hang on till 7 o'clock now. That's what you call a tease. There's news of outgoings, isn't it, Man United? That's what we're going to talk. After the break, though, we are going to do much more of what's happened in the world of sport on Sky Sports News. Republic of Ireland out of the World Cup.